Okay, you guys, I am here with my friend and semi-family member, Kristin, the Yogini love and dating coach. And I am super excited for her to talk about her helping women discover their perfect relationship and partner, perfect in quotes, through the feminine way. So I'm super excited to talk to you. Welcome I was gonna say to the podcast, but to the membership.
Thanks, Courtney. It's so nice to be here on this. It's a very beautiful day. It's 2/22/22.
Yes.
So a very auspicious day, a portal, a light portal. So what a beautiful day to talk about love, which is truly the essence, I believe, the essence of all experience, all life in all forms.
That's so perfect today with two in numerology being about relationships. So hopefully this will activate all of us here today and give us a lot of wisdom. And so I'd love for you to kind of open up and share your personal journey into this work, because I know that you used to primarily just be a yoga instructor, and now you've really started to combine these different spiritual paths and wisdoms in your life to create this new curriculum or program for people.
Yeah, it's true. I am the Yogini love and dating coach, and Yogini is really just a female practitioner of yoga. So I was a teacher, and I've been a yoga teacher for the last 10 years and a studio owner for the last 10 years. And so most of us think of yoga as either physical exercise or a place to de-stress and heal the body, right? When we practice yoga and we start to actually move the body with the breath, in unison with the breath, so much more is happening than we realize. And that, I think, is what is the most exciting thing about yoga. And that is what has led me in to what I'm doing now, which is, excuse me, that very like the manifest, very practical, real life experience of relationship. So, yoga is kind of, we start this practice sort of making peace with ourselves. Yoga really is about relationship. And I think a lot of people find yoga to be very challenging because it's slow moving. And we find ourselves kind of meeting ourselves in a way that we don't always allow in our lives. It's really easy to be distracted and busy and accomplishing and productive. And a lot of us actually kind of hide in that productivity. We hide from a lot of what's living beneath the surface. Just the feelings that we don't want to feel, the thoughts that we're starting to become aware of that we don't realize are there. Yoga gives us the space to start to see all of that, right? And it actually is a very profound and beautiful opportunity to start to understand who we really are and what is operating kind of behind the scenes. So we are constantly thinking thoughts that are creating our reality, but most of the time we aren't aware of our thoughts. So when it comes to love, this is kind of how it all sort of folds into what I'm doing now, is that a lot of us get to a certain point of our lives, in our lives, our 30s, our 40s, our 50s, and even our 60s, and we look around and we realize that we've been through relationship after relationship after relationship, and none of them seem to either add up or go anywhere. And we see people, falling into love all around us, but it doesn't seem to be happening for us. So this experience of the yoga practice and teaching yoga has allowed me to see so much of what is happening that is actually creating these obstacles and challenges. And in our life, we have a lot of our experiences that we are living out as adults were beliefs that we gained at a very young age and are being perpetuated. So when it comes to love, when we're having a hard time actually finding love or finding our soulmate or having a relationship that works, most of the time it's because we are magnetizing relationships according to the beliefs that live in the back of our mind that we aren't even aware of. So if we have a belief that our self-worth comes out of a place of being the rescuer of someone else or self-sacrificing for others, then we're going to kind of keep attracting people in our lives that aren't really supporting the higher relationships, the healthy relationships. So if we're always trying to if we're always attracting people who are broken and trying to fix them from a place of our own brokenness, then it just becomes this sort of relationship where people are taking from each other instead of filling each other up, giving each other more real healthy love so that we can be more of who we really are. So there's so many of these underlying patterns that lead us into broken relationships. So this is really an opportunity for becoming conscious of what we are creating according to our past experiences, and realizing that when we are aware, we have the ability to turn it all around and start to attract with intention, with consciousness, and become aware of what is actually really good for us, as opposed to being attracted to more of that which confirms the story that we tell ourselves that we aren't even aware of, that we deserve pain. Oh, your mic, I think, is off.
So what do you tell people when they keep getting attracted to like the bad guy, for example?
To the bad guy.
Yeah, and they're just not, they're like the stable guy that has a good job, that's kind and consistent and always there. They just like, they say that they're not sexually attracted to that person.
I know. It's it's so fascinating. And well, I was just doing a video yesterday that I'm sending out in an email about one of the reasons that we're always attracting the wrong guys. Yeah, I mean, it's notorious that a lot of women love bad boys. We love bad boys because there's this allure there that they're just out of reach. And we know that if we can capture their attention for just long enough, we feel like that we have some value. And then, but there's this underlying knowing that we aren't even aware of, that we will never get the love that we really want. And we probably don't even deserve it. So there's this wild chemistry that happens because of the frequency of our thoughts, right? So if our thoughts are telling us we don't deserve real, true, and lasting love, according to some experience that maybe we received when we were very young, then we're going to continue to seek that kind of experience because we perceive it to be love. This is what is called the fantasy bond. Sierra Faith writes about it. It's like a psychological and spiritual understanding of love. So when we're young, we see our primary caretakers as the kind of defining love for us. So if there's any inconsistency in that love, or we have to take care of them, our parents in any way, as opposed to them taking care of us, then we learn that is love. That's our understanding of love. So we become attracted to that, and it's all be unattainable because that's what we perceive to be love. So that's why we go for bad boys, and then we continue to get our heart broken again and again. And it confirms our story that we're not worthy of love. So this is a big turnaround in the way we want to see men and what we understand to be valuable in men and what is truly good for us. So we start to begin to look for their behavior. You can hear the cat in the background. We were out of town for a while and she's craving a lot of attention right now. But yeah, so let me see, where was I? So we have to retrain ourselves to be attracted to effort. And the most interesting thing about it is that this lack of chemistry that we feel when a man is actually coming towards us, showing us effort, showing interest in us, the reason we're not attracted to us or to that kind of attention is because it's unfamiliar in our definition of love. So there's this retraining. And I'm not saying that through that process, you have to go for someone that you're not going to have any chemistry with. But we start to teach ourselves to be attracted to effort over the unattainability or the emotional unavailability of man. So it's a process. And the scientific studies, though, and Tantra, all of these things, they actually, it's beautiful how spirituality and science are starting to come together now, because Tantra is all about this deeper connection, the soul connection that comes through the senses. So actually using our senses consciously to start to allow connection to build, chemistry to build. It comes out of nowhere, but it can come out of eye gazing. It can come out of synchronized breathing. It can come from gentle touch. It can come from being heard, being seen. So we start to tap into what our real needs are as women. And we start to claim those needs as sacred. And then we start to see how men are fitting into that kind of realm of influence, as opposed to unconsciously seeking for love according to this like wild chemistry that we have in the past. This like, I don't know, I feel like I've known him from a past life, or there's this crazy coincidence, and these all of these things that we're trying to understand that are very enigmatic about a man, and we become the problem solvers, and we're trying to like sleuth our way into his heart. Like, these are all signs that we are attracting according to unhealthy and toxic patterns and beliefs that are hidden in our subconscious. It's pretty fascinating, really. So it's a journey. I always say it's a life-changing, paradigm-shifting, heart-healing journey to love. And if your future self, who was deep in a relationship with someone, could look back and say, if only I had taken that time at the initial stages to let the relationship unfold in beauty and consciousness, and allowed him to court me and invoke his sacred masculine, his very purposeful provider, protector nature, to adore and cherish the feminine. If I had only taken the time to let those things fall into place and really know who I was getting involved with, then this relationship of the future would hold so much more beauty and promise, instead of, why me? Why is this always happening to me? Why am I always being treated this way? Why are relationships always eroding, falling apart, right? Repeating patterns. So yeah, it's for the woman who is really ready to kind of turn it all around. And it's funny because I could say, kind of take command, be like the command center, as opposed, and this is one of the phrases that you'll hear in yoga, like the command center, the conscious creator, as opposed to someone who is just kind of letting life happen to her and then being the victim of it.
Yes.
So,
I have,
and that might sound like very masculine energy, the command center. But until we find a very like clear conscious center that we can rest in, only then can we find true feminine energy, which is very much soft and receptive and allowing, truly is allowing life to unfold for her. without having to control it.
Yeah. So before we kind of get into the masculine and feminine a little bit more, I was wondering if you had any kind of questions that people can ask themselves, like a check-in point to bring that consciousness to the dynamic, to see if they are headed down the same path that they've always headed down, or to see if that person is giving effort. Like, was there anything that changed for you versus, I mean, maybe it could even be helpful to talk about your love journey over the years and maybe some questions that you started to ask yourself to know that this time things were different.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Relationships are interesting because they can be very seductive, very alluring, very much we think we know what is good for us. And all of a sudden, the thing is, like, one of the sacred needs of the feminine is to be seen, is to just be seen. So if all of a sudden a man is paying attention to us, and there's that chemistry along with it, it's hard to discern whether it's good for us or not because we're getting kind of an initial need met. So we get addicted to who we think he could be, and we forget to wait and see who he really is. So as far as, and sometimes, like a lot of men are really good at playing on women's emotions in order to get what they want, which is they have a very strong sexual drive. But that doesn't mean, if they have a strong sexual connection, that doesn't mean that they have created an emotional bond with you. So when a man is coming at you and you feel seen, and all of a sudden you're like, I want to surrender to this chemistry, to this strong desire, this pull, and you give yourself away to it, his needs get met before he's made an emotional bond with you, then he'll disappear. And you'll be left going, why did this happen to me again? Am I not good enough? Am I not worthy of love? So the question that we need to be asking ourselves is, how do I feel around this person? How do I feel when I'm in his presence? And how do I feel after he's gone? So when you're in his presence, it's so important to feel at ease, to feel comfortable, to feel like you can relax and lean back and be yourself and not have to prove that you're worthy of love. So many women spend their life grasping at love and proving their worth. So it's it's almost an exhausting thing. It's like, well, maybe if I just change one more thing about myself, he'll like me or he'll see me more. So paying attention to how you feel, and then also, how do you feel after? Because a lot of men, there's this come and go, right? This rubber band effect that is classic in the masculine, especially if they're trying to decide. So as women, it requires a very strong sense of presence and grounding and self-knowing. What do I want? I have to be clear on that before I invite someone into my life to wreak havoc with my heart, right? So if I'm already clear on that, then I can step into this kind of from a safe place, because when I'm starting to see clearly that he doesn't have what I've already gotten clear in my heart, what I need, then I can make better decisions. So asking yourself, how is he showing up in each moment? How do I feel? And is he continuing to make the effort? And am I open heart enough and strong enough in myself to be able to receive his attention without having to deflect it for fear of feeling obligated to him just because he's paying attention to me? And I think that that's key for a lot of women. As soon as a man starts giving, that we have to start giving back. And as soon as we do, we're actually diffusing the the dynamic attraction that should be building. So if we're trying to match what he's giving, we're diffusing. So really the feminine is about receptivity. It's about kind of taking your throne and allowing men to kind of come to you and show you who they are, and you get to kind of lean back and choose. And I don't think a lot of women have realized this for themselves, that they are the one that gets to choose. He is not the one that gets to choose. I mean, he'll choose you, yes, and he needs to continue to choose you while you get to decide whether he's the man for the job. So it's a very empowering shift. And actually, when you're in a group, a very like a supportive sisterhood, which I think for women is really important and powerful for this kind of experience. Because when we're doing it alone, we're in our masculine energy and we fall back into past patterns of unconsciousness. So that's why I've created this program that launches next week. And it's all about this whole process that I'm describing very kind of in an in-depth way. So how does that feel to you?
I love that. I would love for you to kind of talk a little bit about your program and how it's set up, and maybe, how, because I know you've run one before. So your experience with past clients, is there anything that seems to come out consistently, or that you feel like people really get the most benefit from when working?
Yeah. Well, the program, it actually begins on March 3rd, which is next week, next Thursday. And it's a 9-month program. And I know, like, when you hear a 9-month program, that sounds like this big commitment. And most of us go into that kind of that frame of lack in our minds. Like, I don't have time for that. How am I going to do all that? Really, what it is a sacred container for this process of evolution, growth, transformation, and becoming. So this process of becoming, it's like this 9-month cycle, right? Which is like that sacred cycle, that gestation period and birth of this new possibility in life for lifelong love, healthy, supportive, expansive, spiritual relationship of love that is like so rich that it just keeps revealing itself in unexpected and surprising ways. So as far as what continues to show itself with the women that I work with is the masculine energy that we've all as women been conditioned to believe is how we have to operate in the world to succeed. So to describe that masculine energy, and it's very important to be able to recognize it in ourselves and know when to say, oh, that's not necessary to attract my soulmate to be in that masculine. So that masculine energy is the problem solver, the convincer, the one who's always trying to make the sale, if you will, right? We think of men as like, there's this one point of focus and this moving from A to B that's very directive, very productive. That's masculine energy. It doesn't mean that you have to be a man to have it. Women have it. Men have feminine energy. So we can kind of go back and forth between that in ourselves. But if we want to watch love blossom in our lives, we have to understand the difference in when we're in our masculine as opposed to our feminine. So what happens, and what I see over these 9 months, is you learn the cerebral understanding of what feminine energy is. And then we do embodiment practices and all of these things. But some of these patterns in our mind are so entrenched that they're automatic habits. So when we're caught up in a relationship where we're kind of feeling something, chemistry, it's hard to stay conscious. right? So we go into that automatic, like, if he isn't paying attention to me, I have to figure out what I need to do to solve this problem. And so as soon as we go into problem solving mode, we're wasting our sacred, vital prana, life force energy. So it's a big process of learning to contain your energy and not take it personally if he's not showing up, and go into that masculine energy and trying to figure out how to get him to love us. So having a coach during that process is so important, so that you can retain your vital energy and focus on your true magnetic energy, right? Magnetism is effortless. And magnetism is the embodiment of feminine energy. As women, we don't have to do anything to attract love, but be. And that is the biggest quantum leap of understanding for women to integrate and really claim for themselves. So, but once we do, we can let go and just allow ourselves to receive. And then as we do that, they start showing up. The high caliber men, they start appearing, because all of a sudden we're allowing ourselves to see what we could not see before.
I love that. A lot of this, I feel like, is about truly valuing ourselves. And how do you rewire some of these childhood beliefs, like watching our parents and their dynamic and having that as the familiar prototype of what love is? How do you rewire that? For example, through your embodiment exercises or through the sacred circle that you guys hold together. How does that help people?
It's fascinating. And we're so grateful to all of the sacred practices. This really comes through the yoga, and that's what makes this program stand apart. As far as like, if you're ready for love, there's a lot of dating coaches out there that will, teach you how to get in a relationship. But this is really about healing our relationship with ourselves first, and understanding the neuroplasticity of the brain. That's the true nature of the brain, that if we choose awareness and consciousness and intention, that we can actually change these inherited lineage patterns of unconsciousness, which is super exciting. So how do we do that? We do that through conscious, like, guided meditations. It's amazing how powerful self-touch is, but a lot of the self-massage practices and touching our body and speaking beautiful words towards ourselves, it's funny because we can easily discredit those things as small and inconsequential. But in fact, if we make these a regular practice, a loving, self-touch practice, that there's a greater energy moving through us that is reprogramming us on a level, that it's surprising. And it's, and the amazing thing is, a lot of these practices, they're so simple that we're just like, how could that, be what I really need? And we get too busy for them and we disregard them, and yet they're life-changing. So we do a lot of those practices, moving energy, moving the breath, pranayama, meditation, self-love, affirmations. Being in sisterhood is incredibly, incredibly powerful. It's in our DNA as women to come together, to support each other, to collaborate, to network, to communicate. I mean, when you think about women, we're communicators, clearly. We can talk, right? We need to talk. It's how we release stress. So if we have a safe place where we can release stress, we're actually moving in to our intrinsic feminine energy, which is what a man craves. But it takes a lot of unwinding and a lot of trust to be able to be in feminine energy. So that requires inner strength. It requires finding and making a sacred seat for ourselves and understanding where that lives in our body and how to access it. So we do a lot of that work with the sacred seat, the throne, the sacred bowl within the womb space. Yeah, so it's beautiful.
I have another question about something that I heard from Teal Swan. I'm not sure if you follow her, but one of the things that one of her videos said was like, what are women looking for in men? And she was like, it's safe, to feel safe and protected. And my first instinct was like, bitch, I don't need anyone to protect me. But then when she went in and explained it, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I think even if you're not consciously thinking, I want a partner to protect me, which some women do have that consciously, I think all of us have it on an unconscious level where we do recognize that, I mean, the world is dangerous. So there is some element there of like needing safety. So how do you see this play out with your clients? Like, what if they're dating someone that they don't feel safe with? And then do they tend to step up in their masculine and not be feminine in that case? And then how do you navigate that if someone is in an existing partnership?
Mm-hmm. Oh, if they're already in a partnership that doesn't feel safe?
Or if they tend to attract those people, kind of either way.
Yeah. Well, that has a lot to do with learning to listen to our intuition. The intuition is quiet. It's really quiet. It's that little voice within that we're not quite sure about, and it's easier to overlook. So if we're not consistently checking in with our body and what we're feeling, we will overlook those signs that are clearly marked along the path to an unsafe relationship. So we're really establishing ourselves in this tuning in and becoming very sensitive to what we're feeling. Most of us, many women, have learned to ignore what they're feeling, suppress what they're feeling. So it's a big process to reclaim our feeling as our superpower, because that really is the feminine. If you were to kind of look at the two, it's like the feminine is the heart, the masculine is the mind, you know. The masculine is intellect, right? What we know based upon what we've read, studied, and experienced. And the feminine is more of intuition, the felt sense. What I know according to how, to my gut, to my heart, to my body's communication. So most of us have checked out on feeling because we haven't been taught how to be with difficult emotions and feelings. So, but when we start to claim that, they say that the emotions and the feelings are really the Shakti power. Shakti is a word that you'll hear. That describes the sacred feminine, and it comes from tantric philosophy. And tantric philosophy is, there's this whole perception that it's like this sex cult. But classical tantra is describing the universe as based in feminine and masculine principles that are divine energy and live in all things, so that this human experience is not something we're trying to escape or transcend, but something that is actually divine and holding great power and infinite love. And when the masculine and the feminine come together is when we experience the wholeness, the fullness of all that is possible to us. So this is kind of the long way around, but the feeling sense is really the power of the feminine. So it's reclaiming that so that we can navigate our way through life safely and make good choices and claim discernment for ourselves and really start to see life as working, as coming to us to teach us, as opposed to coming to life to like victimize us, you know? So it's a big shift, and it's very, very empowering. Very, we have a lot of rules, you know, rules or protocol is what, I've never been a very good rule follower, but I lay it down for the ladies. Like, this is how you want to set yourself up to keep him coming in a way that you're safe and protected, and then you start to develop this emotional bond with him so that you invoke his sacred masculine, the one who wants to rise up and protect you and hold you in safety. So yeah, it's a very different approach to love and dating than, you know, we don't get this kind of mentoring very, you know, in life unless we go looking for it, or it comes to find us, which can happen too when we're ready. They say that the teacher appears when we're ready. So that's really what this program is. It's an opportunity for empowerment, taking your power back and resting in that power place, realizing the power isn't force, power isn't effort. Feminine power is restful and attractive and easeful, and really like calls everything that she needs into being. It just falls into place.
And have you had to have some kind of tough love conversations with women in the group, or just even friends that you've had, that make excuses or like always try to understand the other person and like where they're coming from, and instead of just having that empowerment of this isn't enough, they're not showing up, this is my discernment, this is my boundary, I'm done. I think so many women, they want closure, and they want to know why, and they want to see his perspective, and they want to understand, and they don't want to just set that boundary and walk away. So do you ever have to have difficult conversations? Is that something that you even try to do with people? Or do you let them kind of come to that conclusion on their own?
Mm-hmm. You know, the masterful coach is able to ask the right questions for the client to come up with the answer on their own. There are definitely moments, though, that the objectivity of having a coach is sometimes we need a little like, shake it off, girl. You know, let's just shake it off, because the thing about women is that we have this deep sense of caring, you know, and that like I want to care and heal and nurture and love. It gets distorted when we want to heal, nurture, and love someone who doesn't want to heal and is only using your energy to kind of draw upon your life force, but isn't really interested in healing. So that is a toxic relationship, and they're easy to fall into. They're very misleading. They're very seductive, alluring. You know, it's that chemistry. That's where that chemistry comes from. So it's that pattern, that past pattern. So yes, you know, if you're really serious and ready to find a love that's going to support you and lift you, uplift you, and allow you to truly shine from the inside out, then it's worthwhile to get help, to join a sisterhood, especially the best thing about a program like this and being in a group. And I know a lot of women find that to be a step into like an arena that feels too vulnerable to them, right? They don't want to be seen in that vulnerability. So it's like just too tender. Yet it's the group that allows you to feel like you aren't the only one and that there's something bigger here going on. And it's a great relief when you can finally trust women and realize that the true nature of women is caring and is to cheer you on and to support you and to hold you when you fall. And so you have all of that in this process of stepping into this whole new. Dating is scary for a lot of us. A lot of women are like, it's easier to just stay home with Netflix and my Haagen-Dazs and my pajamas because I know that I'm going to feel good. That's the instant gratification, the instant like, I'm going to make this choice because it feels good. But the future self is going to look back and be like, you never took that step to the edge to find out what else is possible. You chose that safety, like you said, there's that safety, but it's not the kind of safety that serves your higher self. It serves you in the long term. So that's what this program is for, is to be there lovingly, to hold you in ways that you need to expand your experience of life so that when you are on your deathbed, you can look back and say, yes, I took that step towards love. I had the courage to believe that this kind of love was available to me, and I went for it, and I got the support I needed, and look what happened. Look what happened. I believed in myself, and I chose to, it's like becoming your greatest self-advocate and getting the help that you need to live the life that you deserve. I believe that love is our birthright, like epic love.
That's so beautiful. So is there anything else that you would like to wrap up with? Obviously, definitely where we can find you and where people can sign up if they're interested.
Yeah. Well, I have a private Facebook group for women. It's called the Savvy Soul Sisterhood, for women attracting epic love. And later this week, I'm going to be offering a free, I'm calling it a delightful dating challenge, but more of a guide, because the challenge thing when it comes to dating, it's just almost too edgy for such a tender topic, But we're going to talk about what else is possible in dating beyond chemistry and compatibility, which are the two things that pull us into some of these toxic relationships. So that's on Facebook. I can include, or I'll send you the link and you can include it in the comments.
Yeah.
And then KristinMcharg.com is my website, and there is a page there that describes the program. And and it's really, we go into the yogic goddesses, all of the aid that we need to make such a profound, courageous step towards love. And let's see. So since the program begins next week, I want to offer to your listeners special pricing. I'm going to give you an inner circle special pricing for anyone who mentions Willow's Bloom. And I'm offering for the next 2 weeks free calls, free discovery call. And in this coaching call, it's like a free coaching call where you and I will uncover some of the hidden challenges that are sabotaging your success with men in dating. And we'll also create a crystal clear vision of what kind of man and what kind of relationship you really want. And so at the end of this call, you actually leave feeling renewed, re-inspired, and re-energized about what is truly possible for you. So these calls are available for a limited time. So if any of your listeners want to take me up on a call and talk to me personally, I love holding space for the kind of that desire that lives within the heart, that impulse to kind of experience more of life. And that's what I'm here for, is your sister in love. And I know this because I've been there. I mean, all of the things that I talked about today, I've experienced personally. All of the kind of the empath narcissist relationship that I didn't even know existed until I was in it. Or the non-committal man that you're in the relationship for years and it's just not showing up, not going anywhere. The relationship, the serial monogamy relationships, the men not being enough. I know what it's like. I've seen it all, I've done it all. It wasn't until 46 that I turned it all around for myself. And so that's what I'm doing now. I'm translating everything that I've learned in yoga, the divine feminine, Tantra, Ayurveda, science of life, and we're building our container so that we're magnetizing the kind of love that allows us to reveal our potential and his potential instead of chasing his potential for the next 10 years and never seeing it show up. So I will send you the link for the free call, the link for my website, and the link for the Facebook group that is free to join. And I would love to see any of your listeners join our group anytime and take me up on that call. So I also work one-to-one. So if that interests anyone out there, let me know and we can talk about that as well.
Oh, that was amazing. Thank you so much. I will definitely have all those things linked below. I really appreciate your time and just how beautifully you explained everything and all of your insights. And I can't wait for your program to start and see how many people's lives transform. I know you've already had a client find, a dream partner. So this definitely works. Mm-hmm. And I think, like you said, sometimes we discount the subtle things, but the subtle, consistent effort to show up, to get clear, to call in what we want, I think really does make a difference. So thank you so much for doing this work. I think it's really needed. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. And I hope I see you again.
Thank you, Courtney, so much for having me on today. It was such a treat to be able to express myself so fully. And thanks to all your listeners. Have a very blessed and beautiful day and keep your heart open.